So pretty much every bike in the Triumph range has like a performance model. Take the Street Triple for example, you can get the R and the RS. Same with the Thruxton, there was a base model, then an R, and now there's an RS. With those more premium versions, you get more equipment, more spec, and generally better performance. And one bike that's been missing an R version or an RS version is the Speed Twin. It seems like an obvious candidate as well because it's got so much in common with the Thruxton. But as it stands, you can only really get this base Speed Twin with fairly rudimentary suspension. The Brembo brakes are decent, but they're not super top spec like they are on the Thruxton RS, for example. But you know, it's a fairly quick bike and it's got a bit of a sporty stance, so it's always surprised me that there hasn't been either an R or an RS or even a TFC version. But today I'm at Jack Lilly in Ashford and they've taken matters into their own hands with this custom Speed Twin. So they've taken parts from other modern classics, jumbled them all together to make what I think is pretty much the ultimate Speed Twin. So I'm going to talk you through all the mods that they've done. Then we're going to go out for a ride. I'm going to take the standard Speed Twin out for a minute and then jump onto this and see if I can really appreciate the difference in these upgrades. So let's do the mods front to back. You'll see that these are indeed the Speed Twin wheels. They haven't swapped those for Thruxton spoke wheels. In terms of performance, that ought to make for a better bike as well because these are a couple of kilograms each lighter than the Thruxton spokes. They have, however, painted them gold, and overall they haven't done that much to the paint. The black tank is stock, the side panels are stock, so that's just a little touch of bling on this bike. But the rest of the front end actually comes from a Thruxton TFC, so you're taking these KYB non-adjustable right way up forks and swapping them out for some of the best forks you can get, really. So as I say, these are Thruxton TFC, you can see the gold finish here. And as a result, it gets the Brembo's radial monoblock brakes. So on the standard Speed Twin, they are 4-pot Brembos, but they're actually mounted, they're not monoblock, so these should feel crisper. They've managed to use the same Brembo radial master cylinder that comes as standard on the Speed Twin. Changed the brake lines, but yeah, I'm looking forward to these upgraded brakes. The front mudguard, of course, is from the Thruxton because that's the one that fits these forks. So you've got the silver mudguard brackets there, and then a black front mudguard. The bottom yoke is Thruxton as well, but painted black. And then this top yoke is from LSL, and that's a flat bar kit that you can get for the Thruxton. So that means that they've been able to put these Thruxton forks on it, but then retain the bars and controls from the standard Speed Twin. Moving back a bit, we've got a TFC engine badge on this side, and on the other side, because the TFC badges say TFC on them, and this is not a TFC, they've actually used one from the Bond Edition Scrambler. The exhausts are from SC Project. I love how these look much shorter, much smaller than those large kind of black finished units on the standard bike. These have a bit more of a premium feel to them, and I really like that grille that you get on the back of SC Project exhaust. They haven't done a decat on this bike, so it won't be super loud, but almost certainly a bit louder than stock. So I'm looking forward to hearing those. The shocks are fully adjustable Öhlins from a Thruxton R, I believe, so you've got fully adjustable suspension front and rear. If you're pushing the bike on a bit, if you're riding a bit quicker, you might find the limits of the stock suspension here. So the ability to customize the ride, dial it into your preference for the type of riding that you're doing, you know, you've got that option with this custom bike. Now the rear wheel is of course painted gold to match the front, and then at the back they've painted the rear mudguard black, so that is the Speed Twin rear mudguard that's normally brushed aluminium but painted black to match this Thruxton front mudguard. And then there's a Free Spirits tail tidy at the back just to neaten things up so you don't have such a long stalk with the license plate on it. Otherwise, headlights, indicators, tank, the engine, side panels, foot pegs, seat, all that stuff is stock. But I think overall it makes for a cracking looking bike. It looks way more aggressive than the stock Speed Twin with these big chunky forks up front, and I think they've just done an amazing job of striking that balance of custom but tasteful. Anyway, I can't wait to get on this bike, but I really feel like it's only the right thing to do to take the stock Speed Twin just for 5-10 minutes to get used to it, and then I can really appreciate the difference that they've made to this bike. I'm actually out with Tom from Jack Lilly. He works there. He's riding the custom so we can swap in a bit, and we're actually going to take it to a couple of spots and try and get some nice photos of it. Firstly, the new Jack Lilly shop, they're changing location in a couple of months. And then we also might try and see if we can get on the track at Brooklands, which would be amazing. I've made plenty of videos about the Speed Twin already, but in summary, I probably would have bought one if it was available at the time that I bought my Street Twin. God, I love this bike. It just has so much more pep when you get up to speed than the 900 Bonnevilles. It doesn't feel like it's running out of steam when you get up to 70. It just goes and goes. Yes, the suspension's a little bit on the basic side compared to the likes of the Scrambler 1200s and the Thruxtons. Same could be said for the brakes, but it's all good enough for B-road riding, city riding certainly. The RRP for the Speed Twin is about 10.5 grand. I think it might maybe have gone up a few hundred quid recently. Now this custom, I think they're pricing it at 17 grand, so it's up there with the TFC pricing. I mean, it does have the TFC Thruxton forks, so is it really worth the extra 6 grand or so? All right, so we just stopped outside the new Jack Lilly store, which is being currently fitted out. It's going to move away from that blue and white Triumph brand into the more minimal black Triumph shops. But yeah, it's just down the road near Brooklands actually, and we're going to take a few photos of the custom Speed Twin, and then we're going to swap bikes and I'll tell you what I think of it. First impressions are pretty damn good. I mean, obviously straight away, the SC Project exhausts, you notice those as soon as you start the bike up, and it's got much more beef to it without being crazy loud, because like I said, the catalyzer is still in. You could always delete that with an X-pipe if you wanted it to be super loud, but it's just got a richer tone to it. Let me crack my lid open and see if you can hear it. Not only do you get that extra bass, but there's a nice crackle when you roll off the throttle as well. Not everyone's a fan, but personally I love that sound. No, I don't think we're going far now. We're just going to find another little spot for some photos. So we just stopped off for some more photos here at Brooklands. It's a banked racing circuit. One of the the first you said, Tom, didn't you? The first ever built over 100 years ago. But now it's surrounded by industrial estates. There's a big Tesco as well, and they've just cut a massive gap in the circuit for the road to go through so you can get to the car park at Tesco. And it's all overgrown, but it's a really historic place. And the Speed Twin, the original Speed Twin, which I've covered in previous videos with Ace Classics, I'll link to that in the description, but a supercharged version of the Speed Twin broke the lap record at Brooklands. When was that? 1938, and it did 118 miles per hour, which is some going considering how basic that bike looks now. Certainly compared to this anyway. So we're just going to get some more photos, and then I'll do a bit more riding and tell you about the brakes, the suspension, and how they feel. As well as the sound being immediately noticeable. As soon as you start rolling, you can feel that quality in the suspension. Obviously, I haven't twiddled with it today. We don't really have time, but the ride is significantly improved. You might think that it would be harsher, like a sportier setup, but actually I'd say it does both a better job of soaking up the bumps as well as not wallowing as much. Ultimately, if you pay much more for your suspension, you are going to get a much better ride. So I guess I'm kind of stating the obvious, but my point is that it is a substantial difference. Even like on and off the throttle, so not braking hard or anything, you'll feel that stock speed twin lurch ever so slightly back and forth, but this just feels planted, but at the same time it's still supple. Your spine isn't taking an absolute beating. Now, although the Thruxton does use those top spec calipers from Brembo, I've always thought it has still a very gentle feel on the initial bite. There's almost the same braking setup on the Tiger 900, for example, and that has more feel with the initial few millimeters of lever pull, even with 1 or 2 fingers. So by design, I guess, the Thruxton has less of a super sharp sporty feel. So in that initial bite, that initial brake pull, there isn't a huge difference between this bike and that one. But when you do give it a decent pull and you get to like a moderate pressure on the brake lever, there's a whopping amount of power for a bike like this. You'll feel it more and more as you apply the power to the brakes. There's always a bit of an X factor as well when it comes to riding bikes like this, something custom that feels special with that extra equipment, and it looks awesome too. Yeah, it's proper good, this. Obviously, a quick thanks to everyone at Jack Lilly today for sorting me out with this bike, and also to Tom for taking me out and showing me a few roads and locations, especially Brooklands. That was awesome. Needless to say, if you want to buy this, then you better be quick. So I'll put a link in the description to how you can get in touch with Jack Lilly, either to speak about this bike, or if you want to demo a stock speed twin or whatever, I'm sure they'll be happy to help. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. I think it's absolutely cracking, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're new here and you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and I'll catch you next time.
Woo!